Look, she's smoking. Look at her smoke.
All right, what's up everybody? Travis here with Every Single Sunday. I'm in Colorado, Crested Butte right now with my good friend here, Beau Law from Ready to Ride Rentals. We're here doing a dirt bike vacation. We're kind of in between groups right now, and we've been working on this 100-hour project. So today's video is going to be kind of a podcast format, touching mostly on the 100-hour stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're going to kind of just float around and do some other stuff as well. So Beau, why don't you give us a quick introduction on who you are, how you got into dirt biking, and maybe a little background on this whole 100-hour bike thing.
I'm Beau, owner of RTR Rentals out of Phoenix, and dirt bike riding. I've been dirt bike riding for about 5 years now. Basically, I've mastered every quad four-wheeler trail that was out there, and I wanted something harder, and I didn't want to get stranded by myself on a four-wheeler, so dirt bikes offered a lot more challenge, excitement, and more opportunity to grow.
So we got dogs here in the apartment also. We're just trying to do this the best we can, so excuse all that stuff. So I met Beau about 2.5 years ago. I went out to their Weekend with Web event in Phoenix, and we kind of hit it off, been working together, doing all sorts of projects like this, and it's been a lot of fun. So over the last couple of years, he's become one of my best friends. Love you. Give me a hug. And it's just led from one thing to the next. So this project, the whole 100-hour bike, has been it's been completed for a little bit, but we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk about it.
Nope.
So like I said, today's video is going to focus on that. So let's kind of just jump into this whole thing. So let's back up to, when was King of the Motos? February?
February,
March,
yeah. That was when we broke in the 100-hour bike. Was his first ride. Travis, you picked it up?
I did. So I was getting ready to head out to King of the Motos in Johnson Valley, California. Beau lives in Phoenix, and he calls me and says, hey, I got this stupid idea because I'm an idiot and I don't want to do service for 100 hours.
I really just want to be lazy. I just want to make it look like it's normal. No.
So anyway, Beau kind of pitches this whole, hey, we're going to do a 100-hour maintenance bike challenge. No oil changes, no filter, blah, 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 blah. We're going to start this out with King of the Moto, one of the country's hardest hard enduros. Can you pick the bike up for me? I said, first I was kind of like shocked about the whole thing. But I said,
going to do this to a $10,000 dirt bike?
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up going over to AEO Power Sports in Maria, the place I buy all my bikes. Beau gets all his rental bikes through them. Picked up the bike for him, brought it out to the race, and I putted around the pits for 5 minutes to try and break it in, if you will.
Yeah, that was a break-in.
You showed up a little bit late that night.
Yeah.
From there, we went through and we
just threw in some like mooses and guards and a fan or something.
Yeah.
I don't even think we put guards on yet.
I know we did radiator braces. We got
braces.
some bulletproof radiator braces on there. We did a skid plate on the bike, and I got a bunch of shots from this whole process over the 100 hours that we're going to be dropping in here. So you'll see me picking the bike up if I didn't already put that in. We'll have some late night wrench session in the trailer, prepping the bike with mooses, some IRC tires.
Yep. Evans coolant and radiator fan.
Evans coolant, maybe some ARC breakaway levers. So the bike is pretty much stock. It's the stock engine.
Protection parts, yeah.
Yeah, and then mooses so it doesn't get a flat. And let's kind of just do this thing. So, I mean,
purpose?
Yeah, what was the purpose of this 100-hour build for you?
So, basically answer questions. So many people are curious about the TPI. Is it reliable? You know, how good are these bikes? And as a rental fleet, I mean, we're in a position where we have a lot of bikes, a lot of data, a lot of situation these bikes are put through. And I mean, I think since the 2019 model year, I've probably had, I think I'm around 65 TPI bikes I've had. And I've had a really good reliable bikes with these never any issues. And that's the point of this 100-hour no maintenance, is to show just how tough these bikes are. I wanted to come up with, I mean, like every bike's been in a bad situation. Every bike's been hydrolocked. Every bike's been overheated, you know, but I want to take every bad situation that's happened to all these bikes and make one bike take all this abuse just to see if it can make it. So like when we do things like no air filter changes, that's silly. That's kind of dumb to do that to a motor, but I wanted to prove that you literally don't have to do anything to these bikes and it'll make it.
And that being said, don't do this to your bike. Change the oil, change the filter. This was just kind of a worst situation test to see what would happen. Would the bike grenade itself? Would it stop running? Would the oil turn to sludge? Just, we'd never heard anyone doing this. So when Beau presented this whole situation, we said, well, I said, no, it's awful. And Beau said, let's do this. So as we get through this whole thing today, we're going to tell you about when we picked the bike up, which races it went to, the 1,500 miles in Mexico, and it all kind of just tailors down to taking the bike back over to AEO Power Sports. And they
stripped down and inspected it afterwards.
Yeah, they tore the whole bike down, tore the engine down, and looked for damage. So we'll get into all that stuff as we get through this conversation. All right, so I guess we're going to start off with what exactly does no maintenance mean? We talked about a couple little things here, but we did change things like tires and stuff to keep it rolling.
So, bone stock bike.
Which was what? What was it, a 21 or
2021 KTM 300 XCW. Kept it bone stock with the exception of some protection parts. Just because, I mean, it's being hammered through rocks. And so we did like, you know, some radiator guards, fan, coolant, just to protect that bike.
Clutch cover, because those are kind of a weak spot on the bike. We don't want to lose the oil.
So it was just protection parts so you can hammer it through the rocks and it doesn't break and start leaking. Other than that, absolutely nothing was done to the bike except for just gas and oil. And
that's TPI injector oil, not an oil change.
Oh yeah, no oil changes. Yeah, when the injector oil gets low, which by the way it lasted 25 hours until it got really low. But anyways, I inspected the air filter just to show it on video, showing how it looks, you know, every 20 hours or so you know how nasty it gets over time. Just kept this original factory oil in there, which, you know, was drained afterwards and inspected, which we'll get into. But otherwise, no maintenance means literally nothing but gas and go. Once in a while, I think we did like 2 or 3 rear tire changes, but we kept the stock front tire on, or the IRC front tire on the whole life. Never even changed the front tire.
Now, going into this, did you have any thoughts that the bike might fail or might not run well due to the clogged filter, the oil deteriorating?
So, no, but right after King of Motos, we went straight to Baja, Mexico. And this is with a group of friends. And I felt a little guilty about, you know, you got 12 other guys on this Baja trip and you're running a no maintenance bike. And you're like, my fear was like I don't think it'll break down, but it would suck if it does because I could potentially ruin everyone else's trip. But I was confident in making it. I mean, after so many rental bikes, like this wasn't just a stupid, you know, just a stupid like guess, like, oh, let's see if it'll make it. Like, no, I've had good, consistent, reliable bikes. So I'm like, I'm so confident we're going to send this through Baja with no air filter changes for 1,600 miles from the border to the tip. And that was only its first 1/3 of its life, you know.
Yeah. So, like we said, first event for this bike was King of the Motos, Johnson Valley, California, hard enduro. And I think I have some footage from that we're going to drop in of the bike cartwheeling down rocks.
Oh, yeah. That's easy on the bike. Those bikes can handle that with the guards.
So, but anyway, I think by the end of King of the Motos, we were right around 4.5, 5 hours on it or something like that.
4 hours, yeah.
The bike went to my house after that. I pulled the fuel filter out, put it in a Cherubi's oversized tank, put on a Trail Tech GPS, put on some saddlebags for you, and kind of did like a little mini Baja prep.
Yeah,
but it was still the stock fuel filter and stuff. So or fuel pump, sorry.
Yeah, you just took the original fuel pump, put it in an oversized tank. So we're still using the same filter and everything.
Yeah. So we went from that, and then we went. Well, we as in you. I didn't go to Mexico last time, but I'm going on the next trip. If you guys want to come and you see this, shoot RTR Rentals a message. Got an awesome Mexico trip coming up, 1,500 miles. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Few spots left.
And then more next year, and then all the regular vacation stuff that they do. Crested Butte, Colorado, Portland, Oregon, Idaho, St. George, Utah, Phoenix,
Baja.
And then all the races around the country that we go to. So if you guys want to come and join us at those events, check out readytoriderentals.com, and we got the whole schedule on there.
Yeah.
So anyway, we prep the bike. It's got 4.5 hours when you head down to Mexico.
Yep.
And you do, was it 6 or 7 days of riding?
7 days with alternate routes out day each day, so it can range from like 1,400 to 1,600 miles. And I did 1,636 miles on that two-stroke bike. I mean, mostly I think there's only 200 or 300 miles of asphalt. And the rest was all off-road, single track, sand beach, whoops, rocks, everything.
And I watched you just ring the bike out like it wasn't yours. I saw you doing wheelies through the water, salt water.
Yep. Through the beach, hydroplaning through the beach water.
I saw on the GPS display, I think 84 or 85 miles an hour.
I think I got up to 85. I did that several. I did it. Except for the lake bed. Lake bed, I got to like 89. So that bike was pinned wide open as fast as it could go for 20-mile sections.
And not just for a second. It was just ding, 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 just bouncing off the rev limiter pretty much. It was hard to watch.
If we're going to show how reliable this bike is, we got to put it through its paces.
Yeah. So basically, you went King of the Motos, then you went to Mexico.
Yep.
And how many hours were on the bike by the end of the Mexico trip? Do you remember?
We did 45 engine hours through Mexico. So that bike was at 49 hours when Mexico finished. And by the way, never washed this bike or nothing. And was starting to feel guilty because there was salt corrosion all on the bike and it was starting to chew away at the bike. So I'm going to jump forward a little bit.
Yeah.
To 51 hours, she got her first bath. And you got a video of this.
I do. This is where you fell off the bike and it hydrolocked.
So, yeah, like it was staged to where I fell off the bike. You know, I fell off the bike, but it was real. The bike, I sent it off into the riverbank and completely submerged that bike while it was running to purposely hydrolock that motor. And this, is again, no oil changes, no oil filter cleanings. To hydrolock that motor, so for once she can get clean, get all that salt corrosion off her, we want to take care of her. And then I didn't pull the spark plug or air filter or nothing, just pulling that bike straight up at 12 o'clock, and I just waited for the water to drain out of the muffler to get it started, and got it started, and kept running it for the next 50 hours, I guess 56 hours, without ever changing the oil. And that's after hydrolocking, getting her first bath.
So I didn't know that happened so early in the bike's life. I thought it was towards the end. So the
51
last
hours.
50 hours you had stock oil in there with water mixed in it.
Did water get in there?
Yes. I mean, we don't know.
We drained the oil afterwards at 107 hours. And there was no water in the oil. It was still clean black oil.
I've sunk some of my bikes, and they've been very milky afterwards, so that's good to hear that the 21 didn't pull it in when mine did for some reason.
Well, I did keep in the water for only about 10 seconds. Yours was probably in there for a minute. That could be a difference.
Yeah, so.
Pull it out as fast as you can. The water will still get in the motor, but hopefully it won't sink through into the cases.
So let's move into the second 50 hours of this bike. Here, drink your wine.
Okay.
I'll have my delicious yerba mate.
Mine's a Riesling.
Mine's blue Foria. So anyway, second 50 hours. Did this bike become part of the rental fleet where other people were riding it, or were you pretty much the person on it every trip?
As a business owner, I didn't send out too many people with that bike by themselves. I maybe only sent out 5 people as a rental, which is there's probably like 8 hours of rental guys picking it up. And they were just, regular Arizona single track riding. But otherwise, I was on that bike for almost the entire life cycle of it. This second 50 hours was a combination of everything. It was from tour rides in Arizona to dirt bike vacations in, like St. George, Utah, Moab. So that second 50 hours was a normal life of, like St. George, from like 50 to 80 hours. No, St. George was probably about 80 to 100 hours. And like the bike was still put through the ringer. We got videos of that. Ryan Wells on that bike, pro racer, doing stuff I can't do on that bike. Wide open hill climbs, jumping up cliffs.
Yeah.
And that's at like probably around 90 hours with the original air filter. So this bike was always put through the ringer no matter what.
So it went all over. I mean, it was a tour bike. It was a hard enduro race bike. It did Mexico trips and all this just pretty much stock.
And it did 3 hard enduro races total.
Really? What else did you do besides King of the Motos?
King of Motos. Then it did a rev limiter and rev limiter and sticks and stones.
Okay.
No, not sticks and stones.
Override?
Hold on. Rev limiter? Page. It did the Page hard enduro race. So look up Grinding Stone hard enduro if you want to know what that race is like. That is carnage. Those bikes were skidding down sand mountains, just tumbling all the way down. That was a gnarly race for that bike to go through.
So basically, we made it through everything. We finished the 100 hours out on a Moab trip earlier this year, and I think it ended up going over 107, you said?
107.
I rode the bike when it was around 106, 107, I think on the last day of that trip, going through the Behind the Rocks trail.
Yeah.
We did Pritchett Canyon, Behind the Rocks to Cane Creek back.
Yep.
Moab Super Loop. Great video if you want to look it up on my YouTube channel. Oh, this bike is not my bike. This 100-hour bike, it's not running the best right now. The exhaust pipe here, I'm just going to stop and show you. Look at this thing. There's nothing left of it. It doesn't want to rev. The air filter has over, what, 101 hours now? So it runs, but it needs to freshen up. I got off my 21 gas
with the head mod and everything done to it.
I baby my $20,000 dirt bike you can check out this month's issue.
It's never dirty for more than 3 hours.
It looks good. I love it. So anyway, I get off my bike that gets oil changes every couple rides, always has a clean filter, and runs perfect. And I got on your bike. And
keep in mind, the muffler for the last 30 hours is pancaked.
The head pipe, not the muffler.
Oh, sorry, the head pipe.
Yeah.
Is smashed on the left side, underneath, and a huge dent on the right side. There's a video right here dropped in showing it.
It'll be right here. Actually, it'll be the whole screen.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm asking Beau, we're working our way up a section. I'm like, hey, can I throw a leg over this thing, try it out? Because I'm curious if it just runs like absolute crap with how the pipe looks. The filter's so dirty, it looks like a sandbox. And I'm like, I got to try this thing. And I got on it, and it still idled fine. It ran fine, but it definitely felt down on power.
Yeah, it was definitely restricted. I mean, from the air pipe and air filter and the header pipe.
Yeah.
Well, it was down on power, but it ran good. Just with, whatever air it had to work with.
Yeah.
It ran good with what air it had.
And after you guys did the teardown, rebuilt it, and the bike's been sold, but it was all gone through AEO Power Sports. New owner has a bike. He was fully aware of everything this bike went through. But let's get into what happened. What did AEO Power Sports find when they tore this thing down?
So I took this to Sonic. For those of you that don't know Sonic AEO, he's a renowned KTM master tech. He's been all over. He builds so many race bikes, Baja bikes, and AEO. He used to work at Go AZ for many years, and AEO picked him up, and he's their lead master service tech. I don't know what his title is, but he's the head guy at the service department.
Which one of the AEO stores is that? Because they have three stores now.
Yeah, he's at Mesa store. So,
they have what? Hold on. Mesa, Arizona, Peoria, Arizona, and Murrieta, California?
Yep, those three.
So, great shops. If you guys are looking for a shop, check out AEO Power Sports, Arizona and Southern California.
So I only wanted Sonic to tear down this bike because Sonic is the most knowledgeable, and he's super... what's the word?
Meticulous.
He's super meticulous. He hates my bikes. When I bring him into him, he hates working on my bikes because they're put through hell. And this 100-hour bike, I told him up front, I says, no one's doing it but you. He kind of smiled and cringed. He's like, all right, I'll work on this bike. So I wanted him to inspect this bike because he is brutally honest, and I mean, he knows what he's talking about, and he'll give it to you straight. And so we brought into him. I wanted him to...
Question, before you took him the bike, did you wash it?
I didn't want to, but did he make me?
That's what I'm asking, because, I mean, no mechanic wants you to bring a dirty bike.
He made me wash it.
All right.
He says he's not touching it. This bike's been washed like once or twice its entire life.
And this whole engine teardowns in this month's issue of Dirt Bike Magazine also, right?
Dirt Bike Magazine September edition.
Same issue that has my 300 in it. We're both in there together.
Yeah.
We
so
signed each other's
buy,
copies.
Yeah, you want to buy that Dirt Bike Magazine. It's got everything you want in one magazine.
Best.
So I told Sonic, bike runs great. It's done in its life. It's sold to its new owner. Let's tear down this bike. Let's inspect it. Let's see how everything looks afterwards. I told the new owner that regardless if it needs it, it's getting a new piston no matter what. And then anything else it needs will get replaced once it's inspected. You know, if it needs a bottom end, a clutch, or whatever. Sonic tore it down, and the full teardowns in that Dirt Bike Magazine, you can get all the details in it. Mary, MJ's Moto Photos, wrote that. She was there recording the breakdown, so you can get the exact details, but in short, basically, we took apart the top end, we inspected the bottom end, we drained the oil, checked the clutch plates, and first the top end. Sonic was, oh no, very first was the air filter. Took off the air filter, and this thing is, I got pictures of it. This thing was crusted over. I mean, there was dirt on top of mud, on top of cake, on top of more dirt, and on the inside, there wasn't any dirt. We inspected the throttle body. There wasn't dirt on the butterfly valve that opens and closes. So for one, he was big impressed with that. Next.
And we didn't oil that filter. That's how it came from KTM.
No, I did oil it.
You did.
In the very beginning.
That's why I said we didn't. I wasn't lying. It was just you. Okay.
Okay, I did. When that filter was new, I took the filter off and I sprayed it inside and out just with some the blue Fab One. So yeah, I saturated inside and out, and then squished it all together, put it on, never touched it again. So that worked really good. And that was with the twin air filter OEM. So next he drains the oil. Oil still comes out liquid. That was black liquid. There's no color in it. Pulled off the top end. Inspected the head. It was still clean burning. The piston, this is where Sonic was actually surprised. He says the piston still has a good amount of life on it. He says it looks like just about any other piston he would expect to see with 100 hours on it. He says there was cold start wear, where there's a film on the piston that gets worn away, and that was worn away from cold starts. You probably attribute that to King of Motos. I just did a cold start straight up the whole shot hill climb, so it was hard on it. It was blue inside, like the piston rod was blue. So the bike got hot, and the clutch plates had a little bit of bluing in the middle plates, but the rest were all still good. The clutch was still usable.
Yeah. That's all just typical hard enduro use. It's going to be abused.
Enduro, yeah.
The KTM clutches, if you're not familiar with them, they are amazing. The OEM stuff's so good. It's like you look at Rich Larson, who's the top 10 pro hard enduro rider. He just did a whole gas bike with his EC300 for the last year, and he never burned up the stock clutch doing hard enduro every day. I don't know how many hundreds of hours he put on that bike, but
here's some data for you. Out of the almost 70 TPIs I've had, probably 30 or 40 of them I've ran up to 200 hours, and the other half I've started selling them at 100 hours. Every single bike, I've never replaced anything. Never an oil pump, fuel pump, clutch, absolutely nothing. And there is not one single part that has ever failed on any of those bikes, with the exception of the sensor.
Yeah, we had that one sensor go, and then there was a top end where one of the
customers...
top
end, 1 second. Yeah, we did have a top end. We'll get to that.
Not our fault.
The only thing that has ever failed on any of the bikes is if I had 2 crankcase sensors fail out of 70 bikes. The bike just starts running sporadic, get a new sensor, you're good. Other than that, never clutch, never fuel pump, top end, nothing. I don't even replace those, even though the manual calls for it. The top end...
That was one of the guys rented the bike for the Idaho Hard Enduro.
Idaho Hard Enduro put on a filter in between, from Saturday to Sunday. He put on a new air filter, and it wasn't oiled at all. Yeah. It was completely dry. And so I ran that. We ran it for one more race day. And then it did Colton Haker, Gold Creek Lodge, and those were dusty trails that weekend. And dirt got straight through that filter, and there was so much dirt that went through that motor. It was there was mud inside my header pipe, and eventually that piston went. So I did have
Yeah.
a piston fail, but that was from the non-oiled filter.
It was pretty wild. What else do we got here for us? Let's check the computer.
Parts, tires.
That's pretty much it. I mean, we went through the bike on where you picked it up and where you ran it and how it ran, which was decent but not great.
Findings great for what it
wrong.
is.
Oh, it ran fantastic. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We don't recommend you guys do this to your bikes. Change your oil, change your air filter, and the thing's going to last you a long, long time.
But the point being, you don't got to be worried about it. So you go out for that one more day because you don't have time to change your oil and you think you don't want to ride because it'll hurt the bike. It won't. Just go out and ride.
No, change your oil. Maintain your bikes.
We're different.
Yeah. All right, guys, so I'm going to go through and put some extra clips of this bike from its life at the end of this video. If you guys want to go through, check it out. We'll have some King of the Moto footage. We'll have some Baja footage. We'll have some rental ride footage, hard enduro footage, just all sorts of stuff. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for checking this out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and check out Ready to Ride Rentals. These guys are so much fun to hang out with. They do trips all over the U.S. They bring the bike for you, get the house for you, food, drinks, everything. They set you up with the best trails to ride, and you can have wine with Beau and paint your toenails.
Mimosas. Oh, I guess it's wine.
So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Get out and ride.
Later.
Morning, 0.5 hours.